All right, hey Josh. I want to get us some feedback, sort of where we're at through 3 lessons, what we've worked on, sort of summarize things, and just have a way for us to sort of, mark 3 sessions. Now, the first thing we talked about was just being athletic, being balanced, being centered at setup. How important this is, gets overlooked sometimes because the setup is everything. I mean, it's setting up the movement. So, a couple things. Just make sure that your feet are slightly turned out. So the right foot's slightly turned out, the left foot's slightly more turned out. The legs are athletic. They're supporting the pelvis. They're supporting balance. So I'm centered in all directions, forward, back, left, right. Just centered and balanced. Same thing playing basketball, same thing playing, quarterback or fielding a ground ball. Just balanced, just athletic, okay? You have a tendency at times to get your feet kind of squared off and get your stance really wide, which sort of doesn't allow you to turn very well. It sort of makes you kind of out of balance. So both feet turned out, comfortable stance for each club. Now, you also have a tendency in the backswing to kind of pick your arms up, really kind of abruptly up, and then not quite turn to the top of the backswing. So what we worked on was this feeling of up against the wall, drawing up a punch. So I'm pushing back, moving this way, getting leverage, or drawing it up, making sure that the entire right side of the body sort of winds up to create the leverage for the downswing. Just make sure that this back hip, right, is just gonna go sort of straight back while I turn to the top of the backswing. Then your arms that are out here become arms that are deeper because of how the body turned to the top of the backswing. So, set up, solid, sensing where you're going, sensing this might be better than I've ever hit it. Then, pelvis turning, the entire torso turning, and then the arms creating leverage while you stay centered to the top. Now, the next thing, as you come down in the downswing, you have always had a tendency to get the left shoulder really high, or your front shoulder, your right shoulder, and then really keep your hands forward with your right side underneath. And so what that caused was you never quite released the club. And so the right arm or your back arm has been dormant and this side's been too high. So what I'd like to look at is, even at setup a little bit, this left shoulder, your front shoulder, just a little more level feeling, not so up, shrugged up, a little more shrugged down, so the weight's pressure's more in your pecs and not in your traps, so you're this way. But then coming down into impact, from here, I want to come back down to where everything levels out. Now from here, what I did was my right elbow starting to straighten to get the club back in front of me this way. But then something else is also happening. The right elbow is straightening, but the wrists are also uncocking so that I can square the face up into here. So you've always had a tendency to not get this back arm going and to get underneath this way and then just turn your hands through and everything goes off to the left. What we worked on yesterday was getting you deep turn and then getting the wrist angles to square the face up at the bottom of the arc. So that was a cool breakthrough because this back elbow is getting loaded up to 90, then it's gonna start unloading, then the wrist unloads, so everything's going like that through impact. And that's what gets the face, club head, looking more at the ball and not so out to left field. So that's all I have for you for right now. Set up, backswing, and then getting the wrist angles out of there. And then make sure that every golf swing is going to the finish. I know we like to work on impact or work on the arms parallel, and those drills, keep doing them. But for the most part, let's keep it as real as we can make it so that you can start to shoot these scores out when you're playing. All right, thanks, buddy.